I'm guessing.
Down.
One other change.
I'm going to call to order the January 15th, 2020 meeting of the Tilton Budget Committee. We'll start this meeting with the pledge to the flag. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I think you'll find in your packet a copy of the minutes for the last meeting. Take a few moments to review those, please.
Town administrator.
All right.
I make a motion to accept the Tilton Budget Committee meeting minutes January 8th as written.
You did it a little bit more time, it's almost finished, it's slow.
Okay.
That's all right, it's still discussion time.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
We gotta read it.
I'd like to just say nice job, Gail.
Thank you, Bill.
Very good job.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Is that ready?
Hmm?
Is that
I'm
ready?
just trying to. Sorry, guys.
Any issues?
No, it just how it was worded on the, if I was careful reading it, it was one of the 5-1, I just couldn't remember if we voted 5-1, I thought I voted no on this, but. Vote for reparation.
Which one?
Not the one, what was it?
Which one?
The police department one.
Yes.
Sorry, the police department one, I thought I voted differently last meeting.
Which one?
The police department one, underneath sanitation. But I couldn't remember.
There was only, I believe there was only one who opposed it. Yeah.
I don't really I'm pretty sure.
We can ask Gail just to check.
Sure.
That's why I was like confused, I was like thinking.
One declined to vote. Only one declined to vote.
Decline to vote?
Yeah.
No, I opposed it.
That's what I was thinking, I thought I opposed.
Yeah, Dick thinks he opposed too.
We'll just ask Gail.
Sure. Yeah. Recheck the tape.
All right, so the minutes are accepted. We're gonna check on that with,
So I checked on part of it. Sorry it took so long, that's why we were on that side of the wall.
and the next, on the agenda is a presentation of the Police Building Committee. Kevin LaChapelle is the chair of the committee, will make the presentation. We're gonna move out here if anybody wants to join the meeting.
All the guns are, so.
Hey, damn thing.
No, I'm not on my way at all. I just need to be close to Catherine, so Kevin and I are. Oh, sorry.
Good here?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, it's a little bit. Sorry, we're just having a little bit of a power problem. How much more do you need? How's that? Just don't tell the fire chief. We got like 10 people here. So, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. This is part of the formal process where the police station building committee presents to you what we will ask the taxpayers to vote on March 14th. So, as the chair said, my name is Kevin LaChapelle. I've been a taxpayer here in Tilton for about 22 years this year. We do have a few of our committee members here. If you could just, Chuck, you're standing first, if you'd just like to.
I'm Chuck Drew, resident, and you're up on my whole life.
Eric?
So far.
Eric Pyrick, residence and taxpayer since 2001.
Tommy Damon, resident taxpayer since 2006.
You're up, Matt.
Pat Constantino, been in Tilton since 1984.
Awesome, thank you. I was in 4th grade back, by the way.
I know.
So we thought it was important to present to you tonight the PowerPoint that will be presented tomorrow night, and then hopefully it's the same PowerPoint that we're delivering to the taxpayers on March 14th. And just as it says up there, you know, this particular committee has only been since October of 2017. And there were 5 committees previous to us, and there's several of you in the room that were committee members on those other police station building committees since 2000. So this is no new project. This is a project that we've been working on for the last 20 years. So this committee that you see listed in front of you has looked all the way back through those different projects. We've talked to some of the folks that were on those committees. You know, folks like Catherine and Pat and others that are still working on this particular project were there. So they've been able to give us some good feedback. We thought it was important that we put Jason Wright's name on here, just because Jason worked with us all the way up until November of 2019. And he had a tremendous amount of input on this project. So we would be very remiss if we didn't mention Jason Wright. We feel that this committee has been extremely fiscally responsible, built on trust and integrity. We've talked at great length about meetings that we've all been to, and if we want a project like this to get through for our community, that to have trust of the voters and the integrity of the entire project. And we just talked about this the other night, that we feel that we have accomplished that. So what's different about our committee than the other 5 committees before us? We were really gifted with the fact that we were presented with a calculated time of opportunity. And what I mean by that is the site was available and it was at the right price. We already own the land. We all know that. That's part of the history of this project. And when we started our work on Industrial Park Drive, we looked at the different sites. We walked around. We talked about a 2-story building. We talked about a 1-story building. We talked about Industrial Park Drive. We just were not getting a warm, fuzzy feeling that that was the right spot. So when we sat down and looked at those 173 properties, we ended up where we're at. Everyone said there's no way they'll sell it to us. Boom, they did. That was, to me, that was, in all of us on the committee, we thought, well, that's a huge win for us. And right now, as far as spending our money as a community, the bond rates, as Tim tells us every time we come to a meeting, the bond rates just keep going down. And they're at an all-time low. So when we look at that calculated time of opportunity, that's nothing that we actually did on our committee on a decision. Those decisions were, made for us, other than choosing that property with the taxpayers last year. Probably one of the most challenging pieces to this project has been the construction manager process, because at first we didn't, when it was presented to us, we didn't necessarily understand the construction manager process. Most of us are all familiar with the bid process, that we put it out for sealed bid, a number comes back, we look at it, and we say, okay, there's the number. And we've also been to other town meetings and other municipal meetings where a rate was presented of, say, $400 per square foot, and we want to build this building. Well, no, what's the price to build the building? What's it going to cost us? Well, we really don't know yet, but we want your vote yes, so we'd like to move forward. And the construction manager process allowed us to go out there and do a design build, if you will, where a number came back and we were not necessarily comfortable with that number, working with the construction manager. And David, I apologize. We have David Baer, who's here tonight from Milestone Construction with us, and I should have introduced him. He's been with us for about the last 9 months as the construction manager at Milestone. So the construction manager process allowed us to get that number and say, whoa, hang on, that number is, we can't spend that kind of money. What can we do? And we have worked with them, and you'll see the dates in a little bit. We've worked with them to get through this process to what we feel is comfortable, and it's what we believe to the taxpayers is an extremely good price for a building that we would like to build. We've been able to navigate carefully through the concerns from previous projects, and what I don't have up there is we've been able to navigate carefully throughout this process with the input of the taxpayer and other committee members. The board, we've been, how many selectmen's meetings have we been to where we've talked about this? Catherine's sick of seeing me.
4 or 5.
So,
6.
yeah, I mean, so the selectmen have been directly engaged with us. They're the ones that appointed us to this committee. And we've been right there together through this. And we've presented at a couple of other forums. The other thing that we have is the business community support for fundraising. And if you think back to other successful projects that we've had in town, you look at the park. That park is absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful bookend for the other end of the main, the other end of the main street, I should say. And it's really a gift to our town. We had to pay for it. But the fact that there was a fundraising, I think it was just over $400,000.
There was a lot of fundraising.
Yeah, I mean, it was a groundswell effort. And for me as a new taxpayer, I can tell you when that park was being built, I had a lot of anxiety about how am I going to pay my next tax bill, because now we're building a park. And you know what, I look back now, whatever it's been, like 20 years, and I'm very thankful that we made that decision. Investing in our critical infrastructure. I've talked about these two photos to nauseam. People are really sick of hearing this, but think about where you're sitting right now, okay? Whether you look around and you look how many times this building has been renovated, it's had a fire, it's had multiple floods, it had the police department in it, it had the rec center in it, it's our town hall. And it's been here since 1879, we're still here. Can you imagine what it would cost to replace that building, this building today? And the fact that, all those folks that are standing around twitching the cornerstone into place, I would love to pick their brains on the controversy that went around building this building. And when you look at buildings like our town hall now, you look at our town garage and you look at our park, those are things to be very proud of, and those are things that we've invested in. And the police station is a major part of our critical infrastructure in protecting our town. So at the 2019 town meeting, we were tasked with 3 things. Purchasing the land, the warrant article for architectural engineering, and I shouldn't say tasked, we voted and passed. And to continue the committee as charged by the selectmen, so we could be here tonight and come to town meeting. So that's what happened at town meeting, those are all just refreshers. There's the photo that you also see over on the easel. That is our finished product. This photo did not just appear. When I see this photo probably much differently, I think our committee sees this photo, this artwork, much different than others that see it for the first time. This was not an easy process to get to this point. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours from the previous committees and ours to get to this point. Although there's only a Dodge pickup in the picture, Dick doesn't like that. He'd like to have something a little bit better than the Dodge. But if it's, you know, if you need a Ford to get the vote, then I guess that's what we'll have to do. But,
Picture of bid dealing?
yeah. So
Just a quick question.
yes, sir.
I don't mean to be a stickler, but remember how you said the controversy would cause them building the town hall back then?
Yep.
But the town hall was built, I was just making sure, because I didn't want to make sure of my facts, by Charles E. Tilton. He donated it, and it was a gift in 1879.
Yep.
So it was a gift
Absolutely.
financially, so that's why there wasn't a huge controversy, because it didn't cost the town a whole bunch of money.
You don't think there was any controversy about building this building, whether it was a gift or not?
It made it a lot less of a controversy than that.
I would-
History shows that it wasn't a huge controversy, I guess, or how it's written at least. Or
Yeah,
how-
I've read that probably 10 times over, and I would agree with it. It was built in a different way, but the controversy that comes around building critical infrastructure within a community is my point. And thank you for clarifying that, because that's the way I'll present it. Is
If we could just, the rest of the meeting, if we could just continue with the presentation, and then at the end, we have any questions
Sure.
or comments, we'll.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
Yep,
Thank you.
yep, no problem. So the view for the rear of the building, again, this one has changed. This view probably has changed more than anything else in the project. The fact that there were many other things on the back of this building, like a 6-position carport, and the HVAC was going to go on the roof. We cut that out. And the reason I pulled this out of my folder tonight, just maybe it means something and maybe it doesn't. But this was part of the hen scratch of us working through the cuts that needed to be cut from the project. And it was about a 2-week process of no. Actually, it was probably one of our most heated moments and most heated meeting on what were we going to cut. And you know, there were a lot of concessions from that first pricing that we had gotten. So this is the rear view. It's got the traditional sally port. Both of these views, I just want to remind you, this is 21st century law enforcement building. This is not a lightweight wood frame that within hopefully 2 years of building this, that we're not putting another committee together like what was done with the other building. And I think we've shown that our community obviously requires the type of police protection that we get, and we've got worldwide crimes that are happening within our community, and certainly on the statewide and New England end. This photo is, or this sketch, I should say, is the overall outline of the property. Most of you have seen this one before, and the way that it fits onto the property with the 2 curb cuts. And you can see the buffer all the way on the right-hand side right there with the trees. This is the cemetery, and the setbacks were changed so we could push it as far right as we possibly could. This is the floor layout. You can see the different sections of the building. You know, what sticks out probably the most here is the blue, and then the pink or the rose, if you will. And if you look at these different sections of the building, they're also segregated on how the security in the building works. So if I were a member of the public and I'm going to come to a public meeting in the community room, I would be able to enter the building through the lobby, come in here, do my thing, and use the restrooms, and these other sections that I have no business entering into are locked off with magnetic locks. The community room, there was a lot of meeting discussions about the community room, the training room, and if you look at this partition right here, there in the project itself, we chose to pull the partition out The framework is still there, and the reason for that is when you open this up as an emergency operations center, and you can see where this comes from, the dispatch emergency operations center here, you can actually seclude this room off from the other. And our learning lesson from that is you look at all the national emergencies that are happening, and the emergency operations centers will tell you that there needs to be different layers of privacy for decision makers and the press and other folks that enter. So we want the ability to cut that off. That was just one of the things in the project that we feel is important. The selectmen had asked that we cut out a section that actually had a little bit of a jog in this section of the building, so we squared that off per their request. One of the other things that, folks look at this picture here and you see asphalt shingles. There's been a lot of discussion over asphalt shingles versus metal roofing. We've been trying to sell the project on the longevity. And is this a 40 or a 50-year building? Boy, it sure would be nice to think that it's a masonry building. Well, some folks will say, well, why wouldn't you put a metal roof on there? So what we've done in project cost is we have the ability to reach over into a side menu of, David, it's slipping my mind, the term for
Contingency, add-on.
add-on.
Alternate add-ons.
Yeah,
Alternate add-ons.
alternate add-ons, thank you. Add alternates. The fact that there's a list of things like the partition, the metal roof, that if there is a high possibility that if we're lucky enough to have the project happen, that there will be additional cost savings in the construction. And if there is, we have the ability, the selectmen have the ability to say, okay, well, let's put a metal roof on the building. Okay, let's put the partition in. So depending on what the cost is, we're not willing to bring you a bigger number than what you're going to see here in a minute. So that's why there's asphalt shingles on there. And if you think about the asphalt shingles versus metal roof, look at what we've done with all of our school buildings in the community. You have a 40 or a 50-year building built for our schools, and they put asphalt shingles on them. So now we're spending money to put metal on. So we reviewed all of those things. So our work during 2019, after town meeting, is obviously securing the site, evaluating the needs versus the wants. We hear that all the time. Well, I know what you want, but what do we need? So, we had the sergeant and the captain on our committee, and they brought us items that they wanted, and there were some of those things that were, if they were wants and we didn't really need them, then they were cut out. We looked at things like fiscal impact with an underline, because we knew that was going to be important at town vote time. Functionality and liability reduction. One of the things for liability reduction is, things like the chamber that they unload their weapons in. Do you use a 5-gallon pail from Home Depot with sand in it inside a building, or do you use a commercialized chamber so when they unload their guns and if it goes off, which we have had discharges in our PD before, it's things like that we've looked at. Nothing, there were a lot of things that were said of, the famous term of rubber stamping. This was a committee that there were no rubber stamps on. Anything that was not needed, we feel that we have taken out of the project. We did visit other police stations and saw, there was one PD that was built brand new, and they said they were outgrown the first day they walked in the door because they made too many cuts. And it was visible that they had made too many cuts. There was another police station that was 9 years old, and they're already grown out of it. And it's a large commercial block building. Previous work from other committees, we said that the construction manager obtained pricing. Value engineering. That value engineering is a fancy construction term for cost reduction. So that's what the value engineering is, what we get from the construction manager process. So, and we still have the ability, even if this vote goes through, we still have the ability with our construction manager to have less cost. They have pretty honed in pricing right now, And once they finalize the documents to choose an electrician or whatever contractor it is, the price might be less. Major concerns for safety within the current facility. If you were at town meeting last year, or we presented, you've seen this slide. As a reminder, we're going to be using this tomorrow night and at the town meeting. I certainly can spend more time on it if you wish. Just stop me if you want me to, if you see something you don't like, or.
Just a question, can we go back to at some point, go back to the layout of
The floor?
yeah, the floor plan, yeah.
Sure.
I haven't seen that slide with the, we have a gym too?
That's down on the far.
Yep. That is, the fitness center has been scaled down in size. The answer to your question is yes. And in emergency services, whether it's New Hampshire 911, fire stations, police stations, it's a normal build out. We've seen some PDs that they have a fitness program that's sponsored by Primex, New Hampshire Municipal Association, that helps fund their equipment. And certainly, I know in the building that I work in,
We're looking at getting someone to help sponsor our equipment. Stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that is part of the plan. You want to stay on that, or are you good?
I just didn't, and I can't make it out, it's like fuzzy, or maybe my vision's that. What's the small room right next to, the two rooms next to it?
Locker room.
Oh, there's a locker room, what's that?
Oh,
That's the squad room.
That's the
To
squad
the
room.
left of the.
And the
that-
Oh,
supervisor.
supervisor, okay, yeah, sorry, it's just blurry.
Yep, supervisors.
All right, cool.
Sorry about that. And
And
then
then what was the weird room right next to
the
it?
weird room.
Right next to like the squad room, I can't
It's
see
a
the
break
lines
room.
here.
That's
Oh, it's a
a,
break room?
That one right there? is
Right here?
green.
No, like
No,
the
no.
one right there, yeah, with the lines.
Uniform store.
The uniform, okay.
When we went to one of the police stations, say that again?
Sorry, it was just blurry.
Yeah, I honestly can't read it from here either.
Just how it blew up, yeah.
We went to one of the police stations, and actually two of them, and they had a uniform rack in the hallway. We said, hey, what's up with the uniform rack? They said, well, we never considered the fact that all the officers have their uniforms whether they come in from dry cleaning on new uniforms, or spare uniforms for new officers, whatever it is. And it's like, you got this beautiful big building, and you got a huge rack in the hallway. They're like, we don't have anywhere else to put it. So that was the 9-year-old building.
How many cells are in the current station?
They have one. Yep.
So you think 2 is
Because
enough?
then you can separate juveniles from other people.
No,
Maybe
there's-
three.
There's actually
If
the
there's a man, if there's a juvenile, a woman, and a man, that means you've got 2 cells.
This is juvenile holding up with the dispatches.
Oh, really?
Yep, only because of the standards that they have. One of the things that we don't have right now is the ability to you have one cell, and then if you have, 2 perpetrators, or whatever the right term is, for 2 people that were fighting or something, and they shouldn't be in the same cell, they're putting them in a bathroom at our current PD. And then if you have a juvenile problem, they're out in the open. So, as we all know, anytime you have a juvenile in public, it can't be in public, it needs to be in private.
Where is the juvenile?
In the dispatch area, so that
Yeah.
the dispatch can watch over.
the watch commander area.
Right there, right there.
Okay. And then we have the cells that are down in the holding cells that are here, prisoner processing. We had a lot of discussion over some of the design in the prisoner processing area and in the holding cells of whether they were gonna just lock them in the cells and then go to another call. And the way our police department has explained it to us now is they would never leave someone in the building alone in the cell without attendance. So that actually saved a little bit on some of the surveillance or the way that they're held in that area,
We
so.
don't have surveillance.
There is surveillance. There's a ton of surveillance in the building
It's
itself.
required by law.
But the way that they're, Tim, am I saying that the right way, or?
Yep, but there's 2 sight sound separated cells, which have surveillance and audio in front and back, and then there's a cage also
Okay.
in that booking area, and then, of course, the juvenile holding.
So we're meeting all
that they
federal
talked
standards.
about. Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
That was the key thing, because if we were audited now
Yeah.
on the federal standards, it's probably not gonna go well for
No,
us.
not at all.
So The other thing that may seem small for us, but I do feel it's worth mentioning, is the type of finish that's in this area. One of the things that was noticeable in one of the PDs that we liked, that we visited, was the fact that you could rinse it down. The vomit, the blood, the urine, the feces, that's all normal stuff that happens in a police station area, in booking area. That, we don't want to put carpet in there, let's not put VCT tile, so it's industrialized, it's a 21st century police department. Unlike if they did a test sample of the floors in our PD now, that probably wouldn't go very well either. So would you want me to stay on this for a little bit? We can go back to it.
There's only one floor, correct?
And then we're
One
doing,
floor, yeah.
we're doing asphalt roof, and then we don't think the re-roofing cost is crazy. We're building this great building, and we're putting like no offense, a half-ass roof on it, it seems like. Because we're afraid to tell people the cost of a metal roof, that's what it seems like.
Well, no, we're not afraid to tell you, the cost is $46,000. I believe.
53,000.
I'm sorry?
$53,000.
I just think we're building, if we're gonna build a
more
good
than
building, that's
asphalt.
something we're proud of, don't build something with shingles where we're gonna have to re-roof, and that re-roofing cost, that's only at
64.
the re-roofing cost.
$164,000.
Total for the metal roof.
$164,000.
But that roof could be 2 roofs, what about it costs to do 2 asphalt roofs, because the metal's gonna last 2 asphalt roofs easily. And then the cost of redoing it, and then it's gonna cost later in time, it's gonna cost more money.
Right.
So it could be cheaper to do it this way, and it looks better, and there's less likelihood of water dams and water damage.
I think Catherine had some of the same concerns, because we had this discussion with Catherine about metal roofs, and if you want to pipe in now.
I swear by that.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the longevity, metal roof has proven itself, the longevity.
Some are
So
7 years old.
it's, like Dick said, you're gonna pay now to put on an asphalt roof, and then you're gonna pay what, might last 20 years? I mean, I know the warranty for 25 or so, but they never last that long, not in New England. So it might go for 20 years. And then you're gonna pay for a new roof. But if you spend the money now and put on a metal roof, you're not gonna be roofing that building in another
What
20
about a
years.
We're not gonna look like idiots to our kids when we're
But,
leaving them.
I mean, and I understand what the committee's doing. I mean, we had this conversation with Board of Selectmen. It's less expensive. They're not cheap shingles that they're using.
So
And
it's almost.
it'll hurt the taxpayers less now.
Now, but over time with the ice, it takes us 1 water damage,
No,
and then we're shutting down or doing stuff, and then we're remodeling, or it costs us equipment or something we can't replace, or doesn't cover, and then the cost of re-roofing, doing it later.
What about a flat roof? It's a cement building?
It is a cement building. We had conversations about flat roofs in our experience as a committee.
There's a lot of them around.
In my professional experience, the flat roof was, you're gonna, again, replace it. The building that I work in, it's a 50-year building this year, and the roof's been replaced 5 times. So the last time we did it, it was $65,000. So we felt, in the end, if we had our way as a committee, we would put a metal roof on there, but when we were going through cost savings, that's how we ended up where we're at. This discussion we're having right now, I hope it comes up, and if the taxpayers speak and say, yeah, I'm a go, but we want metal.
That's like, I just don't wanna put my name on it, the building, and then be like, well, we put this name on this building, and then it leaks, and it's terrible, and then be like, well, you said yes to that building, because, and then now I'm looking at it like, yeah, I put my name on that, and it's done with an asphalt roof, and we just wanted to save some money. And that's not the place to save money. The roof is the one place you wanna spend the money.
I
The
was
roof and the
for a
walls.
metal roof.
Yeah,
That's what's on my house, that's what's on my garage.
when we get to the numbers piece, I think we'll be able to paste together hopefully understand the cost savings.
Get it,
But we'll get through that. All right, we've already been through that. I could certainly say it all again if you want.
The only comment I make about the bathroom for prisoners, there is a cell bath. So not to be
There is a
confused-
cell
Not
bath,
to be confused with.
not to be confused with using the bathroom for the cell. We can certainly pull that out of it. He did mention that the other day. All right, so numbers, this is what everybody's been waiting for. So on October 8th of this past year, our initial estimate for total project cost was at 5.8 million. That was a very heated meeting. And we asked ourselves the question is, and our architect said, hey, you never ever once told us a number And we said, well, that's not the number we want. It's, well, oh, okay, well, what number do you want? Well, I want about $250,000. That would be great for me, because I think it would be feasible for all of us. It's not practical, though. So we went back to the drawing board, and on 12/9 is when we presented to the selectmen, and they voted for the 4.716518. That number, 4.716518, that is the number that's will be on the bond for the town meeting. That number will not change.
The warrant.
The warrant, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for the warrant. There's a lot of, hopefully, after you see this tonight, you can help us get that number out there, because I've heard a lot of feedback of, well, the number keeps changing. Well, of course it keeps changing, because we're trying to cut the number down. That's why it keeps changing. And it was not until the 23rd hour that we were able to present to the selectmen on 12/9 that number. So let's break it down a little bit. We'll start with the top line, the 483,000. That should not be a decimal point. That should be a comma. 483,090. That is soft cost, or that's the owner's cost for things within the building. And what's included in that is some of the radio equipment that is not from a grant. And then some of the furnishings within the building, like I said, all of the radio equipment, the radio tower, all of those things are there. The construction cost is the construction cost from the construction manager. That is the building materials and the construction of. Am I saying that right, David? So,
Run that by me again.
as far as the construction cost is the building, and the building, the product and building of the building.
Entire
Right.
project.
Not for the building itself.
Yeah.
What we don't want to say is the entire project, because the
Soft
entire
cost.
project is the
Plus-
4,716,000. So when you add up the owner's contingency, that's kind of like our little insurance plan of overages,
Plus or minus.
plus or minus. It's a normal percentage that's there of the 227,756, and then bond council of 7,500, which is where it gets us to the 4.7.
I think it's important to say that the construction cost also has a construction contingency as well.
Yes, thank you. The construction cost, the 3.9, has a construction contingency in there, which was originally believed to, was originally given to us as a 10% contingency. Since they've cut it down to 6%.
6%.
They've cut it down to 6% because of the confidence that they have in the project, with their subs that are coming forward.
The documents, the level of the documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that would go with that?
What is soft cost exactly?
That's the
FF&E, they call it.
Oh.
Furniture, furnishings.
Surveillance.
Radios.
Radio
security.
surveillance.
Everything inside the building,
Actual
that's for the
structure.
actual building.
No, that's 483,000. Construction cost is 3 million.
Okay, good enough. I was looking at something.
And I apologize for the period in there.
Yeah, I was
The owner's contingency?
That's what he's talking about.
Owner's cost is soft cost.
Yeah.
It's like $1 million between, it's $500,000 for,
It's $500,000 for the owner's cost of the radios, the equipment, the tower,
Surveillance,
the surveillance, the alarm system,
lighting.
the
keyless entry.
Yeah.
yeah. That stuff is expensive, you know, when you start talking keyless, well, you know it from what we have now. I mean, that stuff is not cheap. It's not cheap at all. So that's the number that we'll be coming to the town with. The fundraising efforts, you probably, hopefully have heard by now, the business community has an initiative of fundraising with a goal of $450,000. Do we have that cash in hand? Absolutely not. The Goddett family has pledged $25,000 of their own money to start off. So they are working diligently on the fundraising for that now. We're going to kick off hopefully a tile project for inside the building, that if you wanted your name on there to make a donation, your name will be inside the police station. We've talked about other things like the community service leader bail project. So Just as an example, if we were to arrest Catherine, she could make phone calls, and I'd be the arresting officer, Catherine. And, and, you know, she would call friends to bail her out, and that money would go toward the project. So those are some of the ideas that we've, hopefully have a big friend list with a lot of money.
I'm gonna call Jane, she'll beat the crap.
So anyway, that's our fundraising efforts, and that is to help offset, so hopefully we can get to that 450. It would be nice to think that we could get to more than that. And that was one of the things that really made Riverfront Park a success, is the fact that there was a groundswell effort behind getting a project like that forward. We talk about all the right reasons. The property was not on the tax roll. It's not intended to go on the tax roll that we're going on to up there. And actually, I believe we signed into an agreement with the Archdiocese that said that that would only be used for municipal use. And that's certainly was one of the right reasons for that. Continue to be recreational land for the community. I looked back at the slides from last year, and that line actually comes from that we would continue to use that as recreational land for the community. You may or may not know this, but there was a level of pressure that was put on to our committee for another municipal building to share that property with us this year, and we told them no. That's not what we told the taxpayers last year, and that's where that trust and integrity comes in, because it would have been easy to say, yeah, we could put another building on there, but that is not what we told the taxpayers, and that's not where we're going with it. So. Prime location for law enforcement operations and response. It addresses the liability and safety concerns for today and hopefully tomorrow and beyond. And then the overall cost savings. We kind of all smiled and looked at each other this last Saturday when we were here talking about this. We didn't think we were going to get to the point where we were going to be happy with the bottom line of that 4.7. You know, when we were into that almost $6 million range, there was thought of, we can't present this project. There's no way we can do that. It's just not going to fly. But when you look at the overall cost savings that we've been able to do over the last 9 months, that's why we're standing here proud tonight, and hopefully we can make it a go. Most economical and reliable site with the available utilities. The water was going to be up over $500,000 by the time we dug a water line to get to Industrial Park Drive to where we needed it to be, and it's we're just over 50,000 for this particular project. So and then we're on natural gas. It will actually be. We had the option to go to town sewer, but it was well upwards of almost $200,000 to go to municipal sewer. And we're at 15,000, 16,000
with a septic.
With an on-site septic. So it made sense for cost savings to do that, and it's under the parking lot and it's designed for that. So, and if we had to go to town sewer, we're going to dig up the road. So we really feel that it's time to get this project done. We have spent an unsurmountable amount of money to get to this point without a product. We've spent money on plans, we've spent money on reviews, and the most precious thing that we've spent is thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of time of the 6 committees that have worked on this. We really feel that this project is honed in to the point where we really can't squeeze any more juice out of the lemon, to be honest with you. We squeezed for almost 2.5 weeks to cut it down where we were comfortable bringing the project forward. And to be quite frank with you, I almost fell over in my chair when we saw the 3.998 come through. We thought for sure that we were going to be up over 4.1. And when they cut their contingency costs down and that came through, that's why we're standing here tonight, because we're comfortable with the project. So we hope that everyone can stand behind this project, support our community, and bring this project to a close. It's kind of, I said it to, I think I said it to Dick downstairs, that I really had a chill coming here tonight thinking, we're coming to the finish line on this, and we have the number everybody's been looking for, and our committee is very comfortable with it. We feel that we've answered the questions of the Board of Selectmen. There was some confusion on different numbers. We've cleaned up a lot of that work that we were tripping on, and what you're seeing is what we have. So I can answer, that's the last slide, and I have some, if you need anything else.
Can we go back to the blueprint again of the floor plan, sorry?
Yep.
Is that a question, if we could save money by eliminating, going up next to the chief of police's office, the command staff, and those offices next to there?
Here?
Yeah, those are for the command staff, right, like the sergeant's offices?
Yeah, the sergeants, captains.
Wouldn't we save money if we had the prosecutor in those two offices, they were all just one big office and they had 3 desks in there? I know it's like privacy and ever, but
And
Each
how
wall.
is the prosecutor supposed to be on the phone with the lawyers and
all right, so
judges?
maybe just at least the 2 staff offices, we made that one larger office, that could save some money, less doors, less entrance fee.
I think the real answer, it's a great question, it's been asked 5 times over, of what else could we cut for program? And for the little bit of program that we would cut, it's gonna save, we're gonna spend more money to pay the architect to go back and reconfigure the building than what we would do for the small amount of changing program within the building. And the other piece is, it's not real practical in the work that they do.
I think one of the goals of value engineering too is to cut the construction costs without affecting the program.
Yes, and that's what we really did to get to this point.
So if you think of a scenario where you have 2 command staff with shares of room right now, and if you have any type of personnel issue, or discipline issue, or whatever, that you have to speak with one of the employees, one of them have to leave the room so that they can talk to it, because there's no privacy whatsoever. So giving them their own room alleviates that.
Well, I know like bigger departments like New York City Police Department, one of my buddies is an investigator, when they bring in people, they bring it into like another office, they're doing disciplinary stuff. They wouldn't do it out in the open. They actually have like cubicles, even if you're like you're an investigator or prosecutors, they actually have cubicles. And only like the chief and the higher rank people actually get the outside edge.
Are those brand new buildings that they're?
Some of them are old, some of them are newer buildings. They're like late 2000s buildings, so it's like 2007, 2008, but they're pretty nice. So, they're like one of them.
I applaud the effort to cut more program. However, when we looked at cutting program, and when we listened to the other police departments that we went to and our own police department, and then we hired an architect to do the work, this is what we got for a 21st century police department. Certainly, if you have an architect that maybe you could give us from New York City.
No,
and if you
I don't know the building that well, but
Yeah.
I'm saying some of the things we could try to cut costs, because there's extra doors, there's an extra closet, there's extra.
If you
We-
see the administration in there, so you have an administration clerical person that's in that large open area
Yeah.
outside of those offices. So there's a huge privacy issue there. You need to close off,
Dick,
it's
I think
just, it's a
If
wall.
the command staff was just one room, I don't know. The shared office, I don't think for that, I don't know, it could have saved money.
I think
If we're
if
gonna
there were-
still bring up the fact of the steel roof and just ways we could, you know.
if
it's
you
a
could see the
possibility.
amount of work that went into cutting,
I get there's a
and
lot of
all
work, there's
the
a lot of work
things
that's done, you guys done a great
that
job.
we've cut. Certainly, we could, we could say, hey, let's cut that, what we were gonna cut was the amount of toilets in the building.
But instead we cut the steel roof, the part where we should really be throwing the money to, like,
Well, that was the biggest ticket.
Well, so-
But we have it so we can put it back in. And I think it's important that you speak your voice well, hopefully maybe tomorrow night or at the town meeting of, hey, let's put the metal roof back in.
and let's maybe take a second look at some of the floor plan, like, I think sharing an office there, be a few thousand we could save. That's a little bit, but all the little bits do add up.
Can I ask you one thing though?
Yeah.
Could I ask, and maybe you do or don't, but ask that you trust that our 2 years of work, that we did look at that. And we had a lot of folks on there, and to cut a petition out, to say we cut one more thing, I think, I would like you to know that our committee worked so many hours to cut, that for us to cut down 2 petition walls, I applaud your efforts to make more cuts, but we really have done that.
Looks like just lots of rooms, that's all.
No doubt. It's, when you live in Tilton, New Hampshire, and you have a police department that works the way they do, and we want a building that's gonna outlast probably, hopefully all of us, and if it's anything like this building, then we won't be coming back to the taxpayers in 20 years. I'll be embarrassed that in 20 years we have to come back to the taxpayers and ask them.
It'll be like 15 for another.
How long
roof.
is this one?
Yeah, the wood one.
1990.
Yeah, so that's 30 years.
So,
So this, my question was, what kind of construction, how do you rate the construction for the longevity of the building? The next question would be, what did you guys see as build-out for the next 30 years? What are you seeing as impact to this building?
so
And the last question would be, what is the impact on our tax rate?
good question. So I can have, Tim will actually address the impact on the tax rate. To address the construction question, Bill, this is a block building with a lightweight wood frame roof, truss roof. We went with the block building, and what we said at the beginning was we want longevity. And we don't want vinyl, we don't want painted wood, as you very well know, painted wood's a pain, and there's a lot of maintenance in it. So we wanted a maintenance-free building on the outside and something that was gonna offer us a 40 or a 50-year building. And originally, we came with brick, and again, we said, can we do something else other than brick? And we said, well, how about an architectural design block? So this is you can't see it in this picture, and I apologize.
Sure, that's
If you
fine.
go over to that one, you can see it. But it's a designed block, it's a red block, and it has a soldier course of brick around the top. And we really we almost gave in and said, okay, let's vinyl 3 sides to the building. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, we're missing out on our original goal of longevity and maintenance free. So working with Milestone, this is how we ended up with what we believe is hopefully going to be a 40 or a 50-year building. The building that I worked in for 25 years, we painted it 3 times in the last 50 years.
Where's the building placement, like, so we can add on both sides, correct, all around the building?
You can go up or.
So we will build it so we can.
That was my
Forty to
second
50.
question was what kind of,
If
did
it,
you, what kind of
take the roof
perspective
off,
did you
go
see
up.
on the growth of the police department? I mean, Tilton's pretty small, so I'm not sure if you're expecting it to grow a lot, or.
Well, I don't know, you tell me. What was it? What was it 30 years ago? Right? What was Tilton 30 years ago? We built that police station, we were in a little shoebox down here, and we built this one, we thought we were gonna be fine.
Yeah,
Exit 20's built, the community's grown, and their call volume
yeah.
has almost quadrupled.
But we may be close to being built out.
Yeah, we might be. You know what?
We
We
should
would all
really
like to say, crime's not gonna get any
restricting.
worse than it is now.
Well, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to say that? So the answer to your question on the size is we had, again, lengthy discussion. We talked about an elevator pit. That if we were to put a second story on there, do we need to put an elevator pit somewhere in the building? And then we came to the conclusion of, if that were to happen and the community at the time chose to go up, an elevator pit can be put on the outside of the building. We can come this way. We cannot go that way. We can go to the rear.
there's two ways we can go.
I
Yeah.
was of the understanding that when the trusses changed, that we couldn't utilize that second floor.
That's right.
No, we can't utilize the second floor now.
So
If-
if we were gonna go up, we'd have to take the roof off.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Okay,
But
it
that
was
is
to
a
go up.
possibility.
Well, sure, but is it practical?
Oh, you're gonna pay for it?
But it's also a possibility to expand out into the land on 2 sides of the building.
We are far more comfortable with saying that you could come to the left or to the rear. It's positioned on the property.
There's a lot of room in the rear.
Yeah, but you know, who are we to decide right now for the taxpayer that's gonna vote to go up or out? Who knows? But to answer the question, yes.
I was just curious if you had any
That
kind of
building should
perspective
not
on future growth, if that was included in the conversation.
It was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so there
Catherine.
does seem to be enough percentage there for dealing with that, yeah.
Yeah, we feel that it is, you know, it's, the elevator discussion was pretty short-lived once we started hearing cost and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, no. In the roof originally, we were gonna build it out so you could go up there for storage, and we were gonna plywood it. They were gonna be attic trusses. Well, it's added cost. So we chose not to do that. That was some of the things that we were talking about. Catherine, the concern of, we should never have to build this out bigger again. I hope we don't. As long as I'm a taxpayer here, I hope that we don't have to. And I would imagine the folks that built the building that we have now, 10 years later, there's a committee to build a bigger PD. Are you kidding me?
We won't even talk about that.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't need to have the conversation. We would all like to think that this is the building that's going to get us through to the point where we're, again, investing in our community.
I think one of the things we have to remember is we have over 21 police personnel, but they're not all in that building at any one time. They should only have a fraction of those people in there, dispatch, the administrator, a couple of the administrative staff.
She better not.
The
Share
detectives,
offices.
maybe.
Where
The
do
rest of them should be out on patrol and doing police work, not in that building. So there's plenty of room
Yeah,
in that building.
I would agree. And that's what hopefully, when you're investing in something for as long as we are, I think that is the case.
And if you look at what we have built out, if you look at our zones, commercial, etc., there are not many parcels left. You have some on West Main Street, you have very few on east of 93 because of the zone, it doesn't allow a lot of construction.
Well,
The
again-
rest is agricultural, residential.
The time of opportunity, I mean, we've said it time and time again, that this is, that all the previous committees wanted to, I shouldn't say all, but there were previous committees that wanted this site, but they wouldn't sell it. So, here we are, and we're at that point. We can certainly keep going. I
Well,
can
the
answer
last
more
concern
questions.
was the tax rate, because the
Yeah.
taxes have just gone up substantially for most of the residents in town. So that's what you're gonna be dealing with at town meeting,
Mhm.
is how much more are they gonna be going up?
I have that slide if you want me to go to it. I have it cut out into
Well, I'd ask the chair of the budget committee.
the, yeah. Do you mind if I go to
No,
that
that's fine.
slide as the?
I thought Tim was gonna cover that anyway.
He can certainly pipe in, but I have it so you can see it.
Okay.
So, impact to the taxpayer.
Yep, that's it. So, right now, so these numbers are through Municipal Bond Bank, New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank, which is a group that pools municipal projects together and shops them on the bond market. And it's the lowest cost, best rating for municipalities to take advantage of. So you can see the project cost, the 4.7 million at the top. Right now, they're estimating a 2.5% for a 25-year term, and but that's an estimate. They just did an offering that closed on January 8th, and that one didn't have a 25-year project in it. It had a 20-year, and the 20-year was 2.15. But as you go out in time, there's a higher interest rate due to the risk of the bondholders. So this is what they're estimating. I think it's reasonable. If anything, we might be looking at a slight improvement in the rate. The actual auction would take place in July, were this approved at town meeting, and it would be funded in August. So in the warrant article, there's some short-term money for interest to cover the construction costs during that time. But otherwise, what you're looking at here for a tax rate is based on that initial payment. And there is no payment due in 2020. The first payment would be due in 2021. And that is $259,759. And so on a $100,000 property, you're looking at $41.85, or if you figure 42 cents per thousand rounded. So you can see on the 200,000, 300,000 for the year. Yep. And And as I said, it's possible there could be a slight improvement on that. In addition, in 2020, keep in mind there are going to be some other changes. We're not going to be paying for the land in 2020 in this particular budget year that we're looking at. So there's going to be some relief there because that was a one-shot deal to buy it all at once. And but we will have some additional interest costs, and then we have the costs of a note that we're completing for the architectural and engineering fees that were approved at last year's town meeting. So, but all in all, that's what you're looking at for this police building. That's based off of the 2019 rate. And just so you know, for the budget committee, when you're looking at any particular expense or cost, $6,207 of expense is worth a penny on the tax rate. And keep in mind, that's just our local town tax rate. You still have county, still have, state school, fire, in addition. But when we're talking about our town local rate, 1 penny on that tax rate is $6,207 of expense.
The other piece on this slide that if you take note at the bottom, the EMPG grant is Emergency Management Performance Grants. They're federal grants that, because that is the town's emergency operations center, we're eligible for $125,000 for systems that qualify. And the generator, the EOC dispatch, and the exterior surveillance all qualify for that money. Now, these items cannot be built into the cost of the project, because if you do, it's supplanting funds. And so what we've done, the big one that we need obviously is the generator, and we have a generator and the building will be upfitted for a generator. The question was asked, what happens if the feds don't fund it? Okay, well, we have the ability with the equipment that we have, but this is money that will outfit the building. So,
We're counting that in the budget, or we're not?
we are not. That is not.
It can't be.
It can't be. It's supplanting funds.
So that means it could come down a little bit.
No, it's not.
Oh,
It's
that's
not.
just extra stuff, that's for the generator.
Yeah, it couldn't come down. It's not built into that, Dick.
So it's gonna come.
If we do not receive the grant, the building can be built without those items.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all it's, okay.
Yes.
The EOC dispatch item it's an additional unit within the dispatch center, so it's not the primary unit.
It's not the primary exterior surveillance thing?
There is some exterior surveillance, but these are items that we were able to pull out of the owner's portion that could be done within that grant and qualify for the grant. And the grant, typically the way we've done, when we've taken advantage of these EMPG grants before, we've done them long after we've expended the money for certain things, and the money that we've expended is considered match money. In this project, this is actually going to be coinciding with the project itself, so we're already going through the process of getting all the pieces in place for the approval, and from my discussions with people at EMPG, our EMPG rep, that we should have the funding during the project construction. So
New funds start at the January 1, so there's enough money in those funds for that.
Could we wait till we get a negative interest rate?
I like to think of that. We can keep waiting if we want, but
Right.
we can apply to Denmark. And
one of the most important items I think I missed tonight was the fact that when you look at our community as a whole, it's our police protection, our fire protection, our schools, all of the critical infrastructure that we have within our community. This is the only project being brought forward this year. And that was a huge consideration for our committee that we started thinking about 2 years ago. We knew the school wasn't bringing anything forward. It was a gamble on whether the fire department was going to be bringing anything forward, but they are not bringing a capital project forward this year, from taxation, I should say. This is it. So it's another opportunity for us in the strategy here. So I have nothing further for you tonight. I certainly could talk for another 3 or 4 hours if you wanted, but.
Kevin, I just want to say, we appreciate the hard work that you and your committee have
Yeah,
done.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. They really have.
Can you do that again? I want a video. You clap. You just tore my heart out of my chest.
And we know if you
No one will
had
believe
to
it.
deal with stuff, and it would have been even better.
See, I'm sorry. I was being.
I said, and we know if you hadn't had to have dealt with selectmen who were in this room tonight, it would have been much better.
No, you know, I'll laugh with you, haha, but the fact that the entire project, no one has laid down and just said, you know, rubber stamp this. We've been challenged. We've been challenged from every angle. We've been challenged by ourselves. We've been challenged by the selectmen. We've been told no. But that's what makes this a good project, is if everyone said yes, it would have been a lot more than that. And we all worked on this together. At one point, it was said, well, this is your police station. No, this isn't mine. This isn't Bob Cormier's. This isn't the selectmen's. It's not our committee's. It's ours. This is our community. This is our building.
I guess just one more question, and maybe Tim would know that. What kind of costs for the actual building, the infrastructure, the electricity, gas, I mean, how much more will that cost us with this building than what we have now?
Well, we don't have any firm numbers on that. I would say more, but only because of the, you know, if you look at the square footage. But it does have a lot of, you know, LED, you know, all sorts of environmental, you know, the latest and greatest of HVAC, you know, to, you know, keep costs down. But I would say just from a practical standpoint, you know, we've got 2 floors, one on top of the other, that it's a pretty, in fact, we pay less to heat that place than I pay at my own house during the winter, so I can't understand how that's so inexpensive, but the current station does not cost us a lot in terms of utilities, and I would say this is going to be more. How much more, I don't know.
Are they doing wells for the water? Is that where we in the?
For us?
Yeah.
For the new building?
Yeah, it's a well.
No, that's gonna go to municipal water.
It is
It's a sprinkler
not the
building.
sewer.
Not sewer. Yep.
And it's like right behind Tanger's, right? That's where we're.
It is, it's 900 feet. It's not
Yeah,
behind,
there's
it's
sewers.
further down.
It's all the way down to Route 3.
Yeah, it's all the way down to Route 3. And we'd have to dig up the street, pay to repave the street.
There's a sewer line there,
Yeah,
but it's
I
a
know.
private line.
Just we're still close to the water.
I didn't-
So was it, how much
Well,
was that? It was like
well.
significant cost over that, wasn't it?
For what,
The
water?
sewer line, yeah, for the sewer line.
The sewer
It was like
line.
over $500,000 or so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we walked away from Industrial Park Drive, because our committee said, we can't. Just to get the utilities to the building was gonna be over $1 million. By the time you looked at sewer was gonna have to come under the road. It just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a bygone
The
now.
sewer part was the most expensive part.
Water was,
Water was.
yeah, because it was almost 500 to pay back. However the formula works,
Yeah.
it was whatever the crazy formula is. And it wasn't worth it, that's history now, so. Other tidbits, construction since 2000 has gone up 45% in cost since 2000. So my personal mantra on this whole thing is I really don't want to spend any more money of my own money for something that's not there. We've already done that, and it's not going to get much. We don't feel it's going to get much better than this.
My thing is, I think you guys done a great job cutting the fat. I appreciate it's like $100 a year, whatever it's gonna be for me. And I just know that if I'm gonna give that $100 a year, I at least want a steel roof or something that we're not gonna have water damage and water dams. And
Yeah,
it's like the
Right,
extra
right.
money we're gonna
Yeah.
spend there and just
Going back to the roof, it is still one of the 3 ad alternates that are still
Right.
we have a
on the table.
contingency for
It's
that.
not
yeah.
gone.
Actually, can I see that for a second?
Yeah.
How much
it's
more
not gone.
was it?
53.
So these are ad alternate items.
The cardboard, that would actually be pretty smart.
Can you share that?
No,
with the
it's
rest of
not.
us,
It's
please?
cut out now.
Kevin,
Is
Yeah.
it that expensive? Huh?
It was.
Kevin, share it with the rest of us.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Now say it out loud.
So I just wanted to show them physically that it's on the list.
Okay.
We've already talked about it tonight, the fact that they have the add alternates on the
Yeah,
list.
okay.
And we can easily go in and pluck those off that list and we can make them happen. So they're not off the table.
We don't have any carport in this new building at all? Like no?
There's a Sallyport.
But how are we gonna store like all the cars, since we live in New England, like the snow and stuff, we didn't have
We
it?
don't do it now.
There's cheap solutions for those. Like the Aero sells carports, we can attach together, they're portable, but just a lot of.
Good exercise to clean up.
Yeah, lots of
What am I
shower
saying?
time.
You're right.
Just emergency vehicles, this is hard, trying to get out.
Madam Chair?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Very
gentlemen, for your.
So if you want to ponder over the floor plan, and there's 3 different pictures that are on that easel, if you want to look at those, or if you,
There's 2 more.
When you're talking about that parking lot, you know, more than you should mention it.
no, I got it, thank you. Catherine brought up one very good point that we've been mentioning all along, and I didn't mention it tonight, is that our current police station that we're in, the selectmen have already voted that that will be sold off and will go back onto the tax rolls. So we're gonna gain tax money on commercial property in the downtown by selling that. It'll go to however the selectmen choose to dispose of it, as far as not dispose, but sell it off with a commercial realtor or however it's gonna go. So that, Catherine, thank you for mentioning that.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
I have one question. When we sell that building, Catherine, is the funds gonna go towards our loan, or where are the funds gonna go?
General fund.
General fund? Okay, so it's not
We
gonna.
had,
So the monies would go into the general fund, but the selectmen at that time could make a decision to take reserve fund balance money and offset the bond.
so we have that option.
Well, those monies go in the general fund. There's no line item in the budget to spend it. So the assumption is it would go into that fund balance that we keep. And then the selectmen could take those monies, if they chose to, and offset.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, good job.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing we have on our agenda are the warrant articles. But I think before we do that, I think Tim has some changes to make to the budget. And he has new copies.
The Board of Selectmen, there's three items that we just need to discuss. The board is entering into a 10-year note for the architectural and engineering fees that were approved at town meeting last week.
Is that the week?
And this note doesn't have any prepayment penalty. It can be wrapped into another note or renegotiated at any point in time, or the selectmen could even use fund balance to pay it down each year over time. So in any event, the cost of that is, it's at a 2.5% rate, 10 years, and it's been added to the debt and finance. So if you turn to page 4, that now includes, so I've also put the notes as to what we have in that debt. So we really have 2 items. One is $1.9 million of the remaining USDA sewer debt that was refinanced. And then $194,500 with 10 years for the architecture and engineering fees from last year. So those 2 numbers, debt principal on long-term bonds and debt interest on long-term bonds, those 2 numbers change, and you can see the difference between the selectmen's recommended and the budget committee approved. So I
What
would,
line, what line is it again?
on
Page
page
four.
4 in the center, underneath finance long-term debt,
And the items
Okay.
under budget committee approved were the numbers that what it was before.
what you approved last time,
Okay.
last meeting. Yeah. So I would recommend, if you're so inclined, making a motion to amend that finance and debt total.
So I think,
So they're going up?
Right,
Yeah.
so we're adding, so there's about 10 months of payments in 2020. And so that is going up by, I think it's 12,000 and change on the principal, and there's about 4,300 in interest.
Tim,
Yes.
I know there's gonna be 3 items, but, so the total overall operating budget, that's 3.7% now, was what before? Because I don't have my book.
No, that was the departmental request. If you go to the right,
Oh,
the selectmen's approved, it's up 0.2%.
Oh, right here?
Yep,
Total
And then-
departments.
right.
So what was it
so
before these
underneath
3
selectmen's approved.
items?
It would have been,
Was it in a minus?
it was a difference of about 16,000. It was down about 8,400 or so. I have it over here. I can tell you exactly.
Usually, I didn't know we were going over.
I didn't know we-
Yeah. I didn't bring my book because I didn't think we were going over.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
So, let's see. It was, before it was a reduction of $7,734. And so now it's an increase of $8,769.
Do we have the effect it's gonna take on the tax rate?
It's about 3 cents. So, and
The
keep in mind-
6,207?
Yep, exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's the easiest way to remember it. It was great when our equalized value was about $500 million, because then it was 1 penny, it was $5,000. So now it's a little more challenging, but it's still pretty quick to figure out.
Okay, sorry, back to your finance.
Go back down
So anyway, because this will be an obligation of the town, I would highly recommend the budget committee amend this.
Could we not just vote on a total operating budget amount?
Well, you had differed from the selectmen's budget by $1,507.
Right.
I would just recommend revoting that.
The finance.
Long-term debt, the long-term debt?
But
From
hopefully tonight,
196.
we haven't done anything with the sewer budget.
No, but that will,
So what I'm saying is by the time we have all our discussion, hopefully we'll be ready to.
right, so the 3 things that I had, this was one, the voting on the sewer was the second, and then revenues were the third. So I think the easiest would be just to, where you have $196,134 right now approved, that you mirror the selectmen's approved, which is the 212,641.
$16,000 more?
Right,
16,503 more, right?
that's right,
And that's because we're making 10 payments in 2020, so?
that's correct.
All right, I'll make a motion
So
to
moved.
amend it to reflect that.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Got me.
Huh?
No,
Yeah, no, we were both.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Okay, and then on the very first page, it was getting late last week, and you can see that the sewer commission is, Commissioner Dawson had reviewed prior with you, and you can see in that departmental request column, where it says $701,229. That is entirely offset by monies from rate revenues and, do you have any grants? It does not affect taxation.
701,229, it doesn't affect taxation, and the fees will not go up. This is all through a current fee and the monies we hold for maintenance.
Projects or
But are we
emergencies.
getting a bond or something like that that's affected?
Well, that's a
Well,
different
that's not a
project.
warrant.
That's separate.
That's not our
Oh,
operating.
oh,
We
okay.
talked about the warrant articles, I can talk to you
Yeah.
about the cost
So
of
the revenue is on the last page saying the same amount,
Yeah,
701,
because it's,
229.
it essentially is a pass-through, it does not affect taxation. It's entirely paid for within the sewer commission.
So we don't need to vote on that.
You
Yes,
you
you're
do,
required to do that.
Okay.
because when you sign the MS 737,
It's part of
which is
your-
the budget document, it'll be on there. So you need to, review it, discuss it, approve it, what have you.
Now, there'll be more revenues because we're expanding the sewer down somewhere,
It wouldn't be in the same year, it'd be unlikely.
a couple of years, or what is it gonna be, that project?
I didn't hear that.
How long is this project to extend the sewer down?
I still didn't hear you.
Would you have additional revenues in 2020 due to the sewer project being completed?
Or when?
Oh, so if the sewer project went through and more people hooked in, there would be some more revenues, yes.
Would it be in
In
2020 though?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
because that project would probably take place at the end of 2020. I mean, there's still work to do. We'd have to go out, finalize the engineering, get the bids. You'd probably see construction in 21,
Okay.
Okay.
and then hookups, probably in the summer and fall.
Okay.
Somebody want to make a motion?
So you need a motion to approve the department request?
701,
701,
229.
229.
So moved.
I second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And then on the very last
We didn't
page,
vote on it before?
Oh, we did.
No.
I thought we did too.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
at least not when I was here.
No, because I think we did, there was a lot of emails back and forth about,
Right.
yeah, that's
So-
right.
There was more information needed.
Pardon me, on the very back of this packet, you see the estimated revenues, and keep in mind, we don't have crystal balls downstairs. We came in very, very close this year. If you remove, this year, in 2019, if you were to take out the unexpected revenue we received from the state in what they added as shared revenue, we came within thousands of dollars of hitting our 2019 estimated revenue budget. So we did well. It's not always going to be that close. Unexpected things happen. There are shortfalls or what have you. But in any case, in the far right-hand column, the 2020 budget, you can see that, and I did lower this a little bit since your the last sheet that you had, and only because we're seeing our own interest rate, the interest rates that we receive on the downtrend. So, it's good and bad. So we're gonna, if we bond something, we're gonna pay a low rate, but at the same time, our deposit accounts are receiving, less interest income. So I did reduce that somewhat, but otherwise.
How much was the reduction?
I think what did I have? I want to say it's about $3,000 what I reduced it. Let's see. Yeah, it was about $3,300. And that was based off of the percentage decrease that we're starting to see us go down and what people are anticipating. So anyway, so that's the estimated revenue I've derived is the $2,341,700 for your review and approval.
Question? It has nothing to do with 3,300, but I guess we might not be able to determine by what the tax rates are, but are there gonna be more people not able to pay their taxes and such?
So,
Then they're gonna get all these late fees and then,
so
they're not
tomorrow,
gonna pay it.
tomorrow night, I'll be going through with the selectmen kind of a tax rate analysis. And
Okay.
we don't have budgets yet for fire district or for school district, you know, and unfortunately, both of those come after our town meeting. So it's the Monday after is fire district meeting, and then the Saturday after our meeting, our Saturday meeting is the school district meeting. But I can tell you that right now, because I'm a member of the budget committee for the school district, that we're looking at about a 35% increase for Tilton on that. Well, so the challenge we have there is there's a formula, so it's not, it's difficult to go through. Chairman Alden's also on the committee, but we're looking at somewhere around a 35% increase right now. And that's totally preliminary, because we don't have the budget committee hasn't even voted on the budget, but just my own calculations, that's kind of what we're looking at. The fire district, we were told at one point, and I understand that it's changed quite a bit, but the commissioner's budget was up 16%, is what they were recommending, but then the fire district budget committee brought that down precipitously. But there's still, I believe, 2 new hires that is going to really impact us. And the thing to keep in mind there is the formula is much simpler with the fire district. It's simply a year back of our equalized value and Northfield's equalized value and the proportion that we have versus Northfield. And right now we're at 62+%. We're going to be heading to probably the 64% range next year, and I wouldn't doubt that we'll be somewhere around 2/3 within a few years, unless something changes.
I was thinking, because of the assessments, and we had December's bill, you know, was everybody still or was there a lot of people saying they can't pay, and that's gonna hurt our revenue?
It was very it was very difficult for a lot of people. For as long as I've been here, I've never seen as many people upset and come in, and the challenge there was the distribution between commercial and residential. But in 2020, we won't have the cost of the land purchase. So if you take that, you back that out, that's, you know, roughly, what about, what was that? I had it before, 50-something cents, roughly speaking. And so you take that, and even with the increase in some of these warrant articles, and even though we're adding some of this interest to our operating budget, we're actually going to see a reduction in our municipal rate in 2020, but then we're going to go back up in 2021 with, depending upon which bonds pass. And the really unfortunate part there is that I've always tried really hard as a finance director to keep in mind the people that have escrow accounts, that because when taxes go like this, banks, they see it go up and they say, oh, well, we need to collect 1.4 times that because next year it's going to, you know, they're extrapolating out the worst case scenario. And mortgage companies and banks, I mean, they're notorious for doing that.
Right, yeah.
And then you gotta, you know, grab them by the neck to get any money back out of them at any point in time if there's a real big surplus. But it really puts a pinch on people, and we've had people in that situation in town hall recently, you know, really.
I'm in that situation.
With it.
I'm in that situation because my taxes have gone up so significantly.
Right,
Mine-
and that's so that's, you know, that's the reality of what we're facing. So, and unfortunately, or fortunately,
$2,000 in 3 years, yeah.
you know, we're looking at the first bill in 2020 is at the same rate as the 2019 second bill. So, and of course, it's late, and I don't recall exactly what our tax rate was for, you know, the second bill, but it will be the same rate for the first bill of 2020. And then at the end of the year, when the rate is figured, whatever that total amount is, they subtract what you've already paid, and that's what you pay in that second bill of 2020.
Mentioning the escrow makes more sense that we didn't get hit as a town as much because the lenders are paying it. The taxpayer will have to make monthly payments increase on their mortgage payment, we're still getting our funds
But
here.
I can tell you though, that the people that I've heard come in and
You're on the
really
front lines.
worried about it is that, they're really unable to pay that additional amount,
Mhm.
so.
Pushing a lot of people out of their homes, like I've been saying.
And there are people in that situation, I mean, it's a real situation, so.
Yeah, mine went up for 2 grand too, so.
I just moved here, it's like, I don't mean to tell you guys like my whole problems, but I moved here 3 years ago, and I saw the taxes were reasonable. I raked my yard, literally, did nothing else. Just raked the yard, moved some leaves around, and I painted some lattice, that's all I've done. And literally, my taxes have gone up from 3,800, or less than 3,800 when I moved in, because that was my first one, and it was over $400 overpayment, to now over 5 grand. And I'm like tapping out like at this point, like me and my wife bought this house, and now that's $500 a month, plus in taxes every month. And we gotta start thinking about that when we're spending all this money, because that's why I'm kicking and screaming and trying not to spend money is, we're pushing people out of home. I had my neighbors now have to sell their house. We pushed out 3 of my elderly neighbors because they lived on Social Security. And they moved out, and they were nice people. And they loved living in their home. They lived in their homes for 30 plus years. And we pushed them out by spending the money. So that's what really gets me. I know I seem like a dick all the time, like trying not to spend money, but I mean, I have to face these neighbors, and it's crushing to me when I'm seeing 3 of my neighbors get pushed out of their house because they can't afford their house, that they lived there 40 years.
But it was the assessment that changed though.
Right, and it's,
Yeah,
I don't
and
know why the
the whole
commercial
tax
assessment
rate.
went down so much. Why?
Well,
The assessment and how much money we spend affects it.
It's not that it didn't go down necessarily, in some cases it did, but mostly it just didn't go up as much as the residential properties did. So we absorbed $1.3 million of tax increase between the fire district, town, school district, and, the county and that sort of thing. So of that 1.3 million, a good portion of that was fire. We had our own 350,000 for the land purchase. All that was, within that 1.3 million. But the problem was when residential properties went up on average 26.6% and commercial industrial only went up 15.8%. It's not quite double, but it shifted all that new tax into the residential bucket, if you will.
Why is the commercial property not valuable anymore?
Well, it's not that it's not valuable. The way I understand it is that it's simply the marketplace. There is higher demand for residential properties. It's a tight market, interest rates are low, and commercial properties, there's higher barriers, to starting a business and growing a business, and it takes more capital to do that, and it's more of a static environment, as opposed to, people wanting to move into certain locales.
The thing, starting a business in New Hampshire, in Tilton, in the United States of America, is a static environment. I'm confused by that.
No, what I'm saying
The internet
is-
is affecting everything.
No, what I'm
Still, like
saying,
starting business is like booming. Crazy.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you're looking at, and I'm thinking about, these big properties, that are along Route 3, so, are we gonna get, 2 or 3 multi-million-dollar properties come in that are gonna help our taxes? Is there competition for that land? And right now, they don't seem to be banging down the doors, to put, places in.
I think it's a lot of our commercial, and our thing, towns, clever business owners, like how they're doing their businesses, what they're having on their land taxes, and they're getting through a lot of the loopholes in ways on how they do, like their properties, their buildings are cheaper. I think that's where they're saving the money. And then our buildings are worth more money being homes, so.
Yeah, it could be.
Have we been getting any businesses like Walmart and Lowe's just coming in and saying they want their taxes reduced? Their
Well,
valuations reduced? Because that
that's-
is happening everywhere.
That happens every year.
Okay.
That's
Good business.
So
there are,
we'll have that.
what's
We'll have
that?
that in the spring.
Oh, yeah, we have that every year.
Well, it's happening everywhere.
There
They
are,
always do.
yeah, and they're hired guns out
Yeah.
there that go up and down the street and say, if I save you money, I get 30% of what I save you in your taxes. And then it costs the town quite a bit to fight that.
Well, I mean, the appraisers should deal with that.
Well, they do, to a point, but if it goes to Board of Tax and Land Appeals, or if we have to get an appraisal, or there are other things that can cost the town, generally legal and consulting fees that it costs the town to fight the bigger property owners, if you will.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
there's an amount of money that I was hoping the budget committee could talk about the possibility of adding it to the budget.
Okay, can we take care of the revenue line first?
Oh, yeah, no, I just wanted you to
Okay.
know.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to amend the estimated revenue line to,
Approved.
approve to $2,341,700.
Second.
Hmm?
Second.
Any discussion, more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So we're taking care of that, okay.
Great,
Now,
thank you.
Catherine?
So if you notice on page 6, the selectmen have in here at the top, 620 is the three numbers.
It's the second line.
Senior Center Transportation Grant for $6,000.
Yeah,
I think we all know what that is.
I do.
What was left out was if we get the grant, we get the vehicle, we didn't put any money in for gasoline and, probably
Yeah.
oil changes that'll take place. It'll be a new vehicle. So it'll be a number of years before we'll be doing anything major. And that was what, estimated about
Well,
3,000?
Yeah, Town Administrator Forrester contacted a number of organizations that have buses such as this, and they said you'd be fine in the $3,000 range based on what the anticipated use is.
It's not an electric vehicle?
No.
You fork up the cash and donate it.
No. No.
So what line would we change?
Well, I was talking to Tim about that, and I'm not sure if we need to create a line, because the senior center transportation grant money is just for the grant. And then we do have a line item in the administration, but it's maintenance for the Grange building.
It could be in that.
Well, couldn't we put it in Public Works?
No.
They don't,
Well, we
they
try to
don't have
keep things
gasoline.
well, we
I
try to
think we
keep
should keep that-
things
Yeah, I agree.
where residents can go, okay, that gasoline and maintenance is for that
Yeah.
vehicle and it's used for this. We try to, that's why our budget is so long.
I would recommend the 620 line. It doesn't necessarily have to be grant exclusively, but what the word grant entails is that it cues people into the fact that we're only gonna spend this money if we get the grant. If we win this grant, and then we're gonna have, 6,000 to go towards the purchase, and then the 3,000 for, and I can put a note.
So here is my other suggestion, on line 480, page 2, we have Grange building maintenance. Well, that hasn't been a Grange building for decades.
To be senior center.
So should we change that line to read senior center maintenance?
I would say so.
Leave out the word building, just senior center maintenance?
Mhm.
And then couldn't we put it in there and list it for what it is?
Yeah. I think that's a very good suggestion, Kathleen.
Mhm. Yeah,
So you wanna add?
so I want to move to change the Grange Building Maintenance to Senior
Center.
Center
Building maintenance.
Maintenance, and add 3,000,
And you'll put a note to that effect of what the 3,000 is for, right, Tim?
which will make the total 9,800, right?
Mm-hmm.
I so moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And I will bring that up with
That was a good catch.
Thank you,
It's on
Catherine.
page 2 at the bottom.
Alright, so those are the three items I had.
We anticipate any other changes?
I'll probably bring that up to the selectmen tomorrow night in case they want to also do the same change.
You have a-
Otherwise,
I'm sorry.
But is so for the budget committee, is our
your budget's
our
done.
budget's
Yeah.
done, so can we vote on the bottom line? Do you have one for us?
I was gonna ask you if you had the bottom line for
But
it.
you voted on everything, so So I can send it out to you tomorrow.
What I'm gonna suggest, we've got 2 meetings before the February 5th, which is our public hearing. Why don't we meet next week, 22nd? We'll get the final number for the budget, and we can also do, and give us a chance to look at the warrants, so we can discuss the warrants then and vote on those, and then we'll be ready on the 5th, we can just have a public hearing.
Okay, and just a note on this format, in order to, this is the way it's going to appear in the town report. So what you don't see are
Less horizontal.
are all those, averaged years in 17 and 18 and all that. So if you want to have that with you at town meeting, but what townspeople will have is the 2019 budget actual year to date, and then all the 2020 information, so,
With the note.
Okay.
Right?
with the notes, as you see it here.
There's some figures that aren't on this one, like Article 5.
Yeah, so Article 5, is that the collective bargaining?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is still being worked on,
Okay.
but now that we have a budget figure, we'll be able to fill in Article 10. So that will be filled in
Before our next meeting.
before your next meeting.
Okay.
And we have additional meetings for the collective bargaining agreement, but we have a deadline of, I believe it's February 4th, the day before your public hearing, to come to agreement. So
Okay,
that's what we're working toward.
all right.
So
So
we'll
let's,
meet the 22nd,
we'll meet the 22nd, and then we'll have the
Okay,
29th off,
29th off.
to get ready for our public hearing.
I have another meeting on the 22nd. I might be late.
Okay.
I'm just downstairs.
And then February 5th is one public hearing,
Yep.
and we're only at one, right?
Well,
Well, I don't think, unless we make some major changes, and I don't see us making any major
The
changes.
selectmen would have to come up with some special warrant articles like they did one year.
Yeah. All right,
That was crazy.
Motion to adjourn? I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I said, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say aye. I voted, I meant to vote aye.
Maybe you should put like $1 a week into buying a business for the town.